This is the way. I tell you what, I've really enjoyed season 2 of The Mandalorian, and we're about halfway through now, I guess, if it's going to be another 8 chapter season. We just saw the live action Ahsoka Tano, but I want to go back a few weeks to chapter 11, The Heiress, which I believe has really been the deepest one. You know, you've got some with any series, you've got some filler episodes, and then you've got some episodes where they just delve so deeply into a theme. And what I saw in this episode in this chapter rather, where Mando goes to Trask to try to get repairs, and he's looking for other Mandalorians. And when you look at this, he finds other Mandalorians, but not quite what he thought, okay? At the beginning of this chapter, Mando believes that all Mandalorians are just like him. And this kind of goes into the idea of Mandalorian nationalism. What does it mean to be a Mandalorian? And there are ideas that we have, whether it's being an American or some other nationality. What does it mean to be a part of this group? And we have the things that we're taught from the time that we're young. Now, some of those things are upheld by reality, and then some of those things that we're taught don't really hold up when we measure them against life experience. And it makes me think about Plato's Allegory of the Cave. In Plato's Allegory of the Cave, you have people who are basically tied to chairs, and there's a fire behind them, and then they're looking at the wall, and there are shadows on the wall. And so there's a shadow of a table. Okay, well, that's a table. There's a shadow of a cat. That's a cat. Now, what happens when somebody all of a sudden is unbound from that chair, and then they go out and they see, oh, that shadow was not actually what that was, that this is what a cat looks like? What happens when the person finally exits the cave and doesn't just see shadows by firelight, but sees the sun, sees things as they really are? And there's always an amount of shock there. And if you think about this, this goes into why the Greeks executed Socrates. When you think about in terms of he was someone who was challenging notions of what is and challenging some of the most sacred truths. And I think that this is really worth noting to evaluate this experience that Mando has when he comes into contact with 3 Mandalorians. And, these 3 Mandalorians come in and save him after he has something of a mishap. And of course, this theme of childhood I see coming up time and time again when you think about, oh, have you ever seen a mama core eat? The child might want to look at it, and there's this childlike wonder, and all of a sudden, bam, oh my goodness, like Baby Yoda's just, in the middle there, his little bassinet is closing, and it's like, yeah, you really had a close call there, buddy. And so with that, I'm thinking, how could Mando be so innocent and childlike? It's like he's trusting, because remember that Mando comes from this world where everybody says what they believe. Everyone gives their word. People are sincere. He trusted in the sincerity of people who were not sincere at all. And then, of course, he is rescued by these 3 Mandalorians, and he's so glad to see them until they remove their helmets. And then that, dun dun dun, and that's where all of a sudden Mando stands up, starts to reach for his blaster, says, "Where did you get that armor?" And then she says, "It's been in my family for 3 generations. Bo-Katan is about as Mandalorian as you get." And he tells him, he says, "You don't cover your face. You are not Mandalorian." Now, meanwhile, then they're taken aback, and "You're one of them," okay? And they say to him, so both Mando and the 3 Mandalorians, at first they see kinship, and then all of a sudden, other, okay? And so they are not Mandalorian because they don't cover their face. But then they tell him, "You are one of the children of the Watch." Now, I think that's interesting where we go into this childhood thing. Children of the Watch. And this is where they tell him that this is a group, basically a cult of religious zealots that were trying to bring back the old way. And, this is really such a reality check for Mando. And I think about, for anybody that's read The Little Prince, a lot of Americans haven't read it, but I've read it. And if you're an American, you haven't read it, get a hold of this book. It's a little bitty book. I think I've actually got it right here, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. You know what? It's right here. Actually, I thought it would be within reach. I typically do keep this book within reach. It is such a cute little book, okay? Because this prince, he loves this flower, and he thinks that this flower is the only flower like it in the world. And then, all of a sudden, he comes across a rose bush. And then it's like, oh my goodness. My flower is just like all of these other flowers. And he has to deal with having thought that his rose was the only one like it in the world. And then it's not. Now let's transpose this. And you see that Mando is in a situation where he thought that all of the other Mandalorians were like him. And then it ends up that he is seen as an outsider when he finally runs into Mandalorians. And in both cases, you have this situation where they had this childlike belief, and that belief ends up not being backed by reality. Now, he says to them that they talk to him, and then he says, there is only one way, the way of the Mandalore. And then, of course, he jets off. He's like, I'm getting away from you fake Mandalorians. And the thing is, when it comes down to it, we tend to reject what is not familiar. We see something unfamiliar, then we tend to reject it. It causes some kind of panic. But then again, what does it mean to be a Mandalorian? And the thing is, what I really like about what happens in this chapter is later on, we see that both of these groups have something to teach each other. And because what happens is, after they save Mando again, he agrees to go on a mission with them. And in return for getting the cargo off a ship, they are going to tell Mando, Bo-Katan is going to tell Mando where he can find a Jedi. Now, he keeps his end of the bargain, and all of a sudden Bo-Katan ups the ante, and she says, we're taking the ship. Of course, you see Mando. I mean, it's always so interesting how they're able to you see what this character's thinking without ever seeing his face. But he looks and he's shocked, okay? And he goes to her and he says, you're changing the terms of the deal. And here's the thing that I think that this is where he's teaching her something about how to be a Mandalorian, because being a Mandalorian is about more than being good at fighting. It's about more than wearing a cool suit of armor. That maybe it isn't about whether you keep your helmet on or not, but the way of the Mandalore is to always keep your end of the deal. Remember in the first chapter of this season where he tells that guy, you will not die by my hand. And of course, that is exactly what he meant. When he wanted to Mando to cut him down, he said that wasn't the deal. When a Mandalorian makes a deal, they keep their word. Of course, we've seen this most recently where we see the part, where you see Ahsoka Tano, and he tells her that we made an agreement. I kept my end of the bargain. And Mando's getting into a world where people don't tend to keep their ends of the bargain, but I really do think that Bo-Katan and her crew learned something from Mando, that there's something to be reminded of here. And this is where, when you look at this, maybe a civilization evolves, but a civilization loses something. And what we see as well, and this is another theme of The Little Prince. Again, love this book. If you've never read it, get a hold of it. It's a book that reminds us how much we have to learn from children, that we should not always impose our adult ways on children. And so Bo-Katan and Mando both have something to learn from each other. And you can see this by, what we're learning here is the whole, this is the way. This is something that the children of the Watch say to each other. This is not a mainstream Mandalorian saying. And when Mando calls Bo-Katan out for breaking her word, then when he says, "You're changing the terms of the deal," she's like, "This is the way." Kind of like a SpongeBob meme or something like that, And so with that, at this time, when they take the ship, she tells Mando where to find the Jedi. And then he says, "This is the way." And she says back, "This is the way." And then what was really great about this episode, where you see the dynamic between Mando and the child. I know technically by the time I'm talking about this, the child has a name now. It's going to have to grow on me, okay? I'm still going to call you Baby Yoda. Is that okay? Is that okay? He's cool with that. I can still call him Baby Yoda, right? And so with that, though, at the beginning with the chowder, he tells the child, "Don't play with your food." At the end of the chapter, the child has that little, looks like, I guess it's a baby mama core. It's just like a small version of that big old thing that was on that cargo ship. And he kills it. And then you see that he's handed it to Baby Yoda so that he can eat it. And, and we go from season 1 where he's just like, "Spit it out." And he's really letting the child be a child. And in that, he's learning how to be a father. And I think that this is just such a beautiful episode, or chapter rather. A lot of time, it's Star Wars. We can't call them episodes, so forgive me. But I thought that it was especially beautiful, and I just wanted to give my take on it. And I hope that y'all enjoyed this. If y'all want to see me break down some more episodes of The Mandalorian, y'all just let me know in the comments. I'll probably do it. Some of them that are more action-packed, probably not. But the ones that delve kind of deep, I think that I'd like to do this a little more often. So let me know if this is something you'd like to see more of. In the meantime, this is the way.